making voting more secure. Oh my goodness, we can't make voting more secure. That's not fair that you need to have an ID. You need to have an ID to get alcohol. You need an ID to go purchase a vehicle. You need an ID to do almost any. When a cop pulls you over, the first thing he says is license and registration. Okay. So you need all of these things. But in voting, oh my goodness, it's oppression. This summer's Major League Baseball draft and All-Star game won't be held in Atlanta, MLB officials announced Friday. The withdrawal of the two events from the city in July is in response to Georgia's recently enacted voting restrictions, which critics, including President Biden, have denounced as, oh my goodness, please, Joe, Jim Crow in the 21st century, because they say the legislation will disproportionately affect communities of color. Now, this is absolutely, oh my goodness. If there was a lie of the year, it would be this one. This lie right here takes the place of Bruce Jenner thinking he's a woman. All right. That was one of the biggest lies of the 21st century. This right here is an even bigger one. Now, the law is not Jim Crow at all. Jim Crow was open discrimination against Black people. It is insanity to suggest, to even say the words Jim Crow in the same sentence of this Georgia voting bill. But nonetheless, these people that we call politicians, oh my goodness, the President of the United States, he has decided to call a bill that would make voting have more accountability. Basically, accountability is Jim Crow. Okay, got it. I have decided that the best way to demonstrate our values as a sport is by relocating this year's All-Star game and MLB draft, League Commissioner Rob Manfred said in a statement. Major League Baseball fundamentally supports voting rights for all Americans and opposes restrictions to the ballot box. Fair access to voting continues to have our game's unwavering support. Now, something I want to point out to you, which what Democrats don't understand that they do, is they're actually hurting the businesses in their city. So Atlanta, believe it or not, went through a pandemic just like the rest of us, and they could use the revenue of the MLB's All-Star game and having an increased influx of people coming to Atlanta to experience the city from outside of the city. The mayor doesn't care about that. The mayor doesn't care about tourism revenue. He cares about being woke. He cares about setting a political statement, which he doesn't even really care about. So that right there just shows you that there's so much pull, there's so much reach in the culture war, which is why we got to stay in the game, because there's so much talk and there's so much pressure that these corporations are willing to just bend to the narrative for the sake of money. And we have to be able to call them out and say, no, this is absolutely trash what you're doing. And this article right here shows you guys, I read this and I thought it was very, very helpful to give balance to this whole idea. And it's from the Northern Iowan. All right. Voter ID is not suppression. Our voter ID is not suppression. So whether you want to believe it or not, requiring a voter ID is not Jim Crow. It's not oppression. It's not suppression. It's not discrimination. It's not racism. It is none of those things. So this brought to us by Tanner Richards, opinion columnist. It is no question that the election laws are on the thoughts of everyone's minds. And in Georgia, they passed a new election law that prevents voters' fraud from becoming more common to occur. This law requires a proof of identity when you are voting. Oh my goodness, there's the Jim Crow. It requires proof of identity when you are voting. Unfortunately, some of the leaders on the left want to push a ridiculous lie that election integrity is, yes, you guessed it, racist. These myths they spread include the notion that you won't be allowed to be handed water while waiting in line to vote. The fact is that what is written in the law contradicts that ridiculous claim. In the law, it reads, no person shall solicit votes in any manner or by any means or method, nor shall any person distribute or display any campaign material, nor shall any person give, offer to give, or participate in giving of money or gifts, including but not limited to food and drink and to an elector. Oh my goodness. So this is the absolute fraudulent lie that Joe Biden was pushing, that, oh, you can't even give them water. You people can't even get water. Oh, they're suppressing the vote because you're not even allowed to get water in line. Oh my goodness. It goes on to say, this code section shall not be construed to prohibit a poll officer from distributing or from 1829 making available self-service water from an unattended receptacle to an elector waiting in line to vote. So the numbers are just the lines that are actually in the bill, which I want to bring your attention to now. But obviously, you see that this bill it's not telling people that they can't get water, that people can't bring them water. It's saying you can't solicit people with water. That's like me saying, hey, here's some water, vote for Joe Biden. Have a good day. No, you can't do that. No, you can't do that. That should be against the law. All right. But I want to show you guys, the actual bill for yourself so you can see it for yourself, because the way that it's worded, I mean, it's not about voter suppression. It's about election integrity. That is what it is about. So that everything that we just read was in section 33. All right, said chapter is further amended by revising subsections A and E of code sections relating to restrictions on campaign activities and public opinion polling within the vicinity of a polling place. Cellular phone use prohibition of candidates from entering certain polling places, and penalty as follows. A, no person shall solicit votes in any manner or by any means or method, nor shall any person distribute or display any campaign material, nor shall any person give, offer to give, or participate in the giving of any money, gifts, including but not limited to food and drink to an elector. Oh my goodness. So you can't give people water to try to sway them. All right. And then in 1829, all right, we'll start at 1824. This code section shall not be construed to prohibit a poll officer from distributing materials as required by law. So the poll officer can distribute materials which are necessary for the purpose of instructing electors, or from distributing materials prepared by the Secretary of State, which are designed solely for the purpose of encouraging voters' participation in the election being conducted, or from making available self-service water from an unattended receptacle to an elector waiting in line to vote. So as you guys can see for yourself, the law in and of itself is just simply saying you can't solicit people to get water. You can't solicit people with water to try to win their vote over. Only poll workers should be handing out the materials needed. And that is 150 feet away from the precinct, meaning once you go 150 feet past the precinct, I could give you water. Your kids can run and go get water. You can get water from a Trump supporter. A Trump supporter can go get water from a Biden supporter. I mean, 150 plus feet away. Hey, bro, get your water wherever you want. You want to go to that pond and drink water? Go ahead. Do what you got to do. All right. But as you guys can see, it's absolute nonsense that the MLB is going to bend to the Democratic agenda over lies. And the mainstream media is going to push lie after lie after lie. This bill is not discrimination. This bill is about something that Democrats hate. Democrats hate voter integrity. They hate election integrity. And they do not want a simple voter ID because, one, they have soft bigotry against Black people. They think Black and Hispanic people aren't smart enough to go get IDs. And then two, they know that if election processes were more uniformed to actually have people have an ID, a signature, and not have random absentee ballots just flooding into everywhere, that it would be a more secured election. Democrats do not want that, which is why they're ultimately against that. And it's up to us. Unfortunately, it's up to us to call them out over and over and over again. No, this is not about discrimination. This is not voter suppression. A voter ID, requiring a voter ID, does not mean I am performing acts of racism. No, it's not suppression. You could take your lie somewhere else.